If you work in the gig economy, you better get ready. Harris's rescue plan will sick the IRS on anyone who earns $600 or more in the gig economy. What does this have to do with the government lockdowns? Nothing. Yeah, it's just a money grab. The government doesn't want you making money from unauthorized sources. They want everyone on the plantation. Everyone is going to be owned by Walmart and Amazon. If you try to break out of that, you will be punished. One of the other things, I don't know if this article is going to cover it, but one of the other things he was talking about is implementing the full freaking corporate tax on LLCs and partnerships and all that. So again, how many of you listening right now are self-employed? How many of you have an LLC? Let's say you don't even have any employees. You just work for yourself. How would you like to have an extra 30% tax on all your money? Wouldn't that just be great? Because that's basically what they're suggesting. So Uber drivers, Etsy sellers, and others who earn income through the gig economy could get a nasty surprise from the $1.9 trillion emergency spending bill signed by President Harris's bitch on Thursday. Buried inside the 600-page bill that literally nobody read even after they signed it, that's ostensibly meant to provide pandemic relief, is a provision requiring gig economy platforms to report information to the IRS about all users who earn at least $600 in a year. Previously, they were only required to provide the IRS with information on users who made at least 200 transactions or earned at least $20,000. Yeah, this is true. Depending on which platform it is. So I think Patreon is one of these platforms where you have to make at least 20,000 a year or the 200 transactions. But on the other hand, when I was talking about this earlier, someone asked how this is going to affect YouTubers, and not at all. At least if we only consider YouTube in a vacuum, this is not going to affect YouTubers at all. Because if you're a YouTuber and you're making money on AdSense, Google already does this. Google already sends you a 1099 if they paid you more than $600. But now this is going to spread everywhere else because the reason Google did this separately is because they paid you $600. With a platform like Patreon, on the other hand, that's different. Patreon is just the middleman. Patreon is just facilitating other people paying you, so they have to follow a different set of rules. So, theirs was either 200 transactions or $20,000. Streamlabs actually does the same thing. I get the tax paperwork from Streamlabs, not because I make over 20,000, because I definitely fucking don't. I'm just going to tell you now, but it's a transaction count. All of you guys sending me $1 at a time on Streamlabs, dude, like in 1 week, sometimes I break through that transaction limit to be reported to the IRS. So I'm just telling you this now because I want you to know that this doesn't affect me at all. I'm already paying all my taxes on all of this. It's fine. It doesn't affect me. But I know there's a lot of people out there that this will affect. Yeah, there are people out there that make, maybe they have like 3 or 4 different gig jobs. They make like 10,000 here, 15,000 there. And they were able to maybe skirt under the IRS's radar, to kind of like fly under that, not pay any taxes. Now, technically, if they were to audit you and they were to find out, you'd be in some deep shit because you still have to pay taxes, even if the person who you got the money from didn't report it to the IRS. You still have to pay. And if they find out you didn't, you can be on the hook for all those back taxes. But there's a lot of people who rely on this. And this is the only way they can pay their bills is by, skirting, like flying under the IRS radar. You're going to be fucked now. Like, say, Uber drivers, Etsy sellers, eBay merchants. If you make people who make money off of Patreon, same thing. If you have a Patreon that's big but not big enough to be your full-time job, if you make like $15,000 a year on Patreon, well, guess what? You better be ready to pay like 40+% of that in taxes if you haven't been already. The tightening of the reporting requirements means a lot more paperwork and tax compliance requirements for the platforms. Oh, yeah, I was telling you this from the perspective of, normal people like us. But yeah, now Patreon, again, I'm just using them as the generic example, is going to have to do all this tax paperwork and file it for every single person on their platform that makes more than $600 a year. They're probably going to have like orders of magnitude more bureaucracy to deal with now. I don't even want to know how bad this is going to be for Uber. It also means more tax headaches for anyone who might use those platforms to earn a little extra cash. Once again, full disclosure doesn't affect me at all because I've already been doing this. Anyone earning a sizable income via rental properties on Airbnb has already covered by the old rules, meaning this change will only affect low earners. Now, even the sale of a single expensive piece of old furniture on eBay or running deliveries for Uber Eats in your spare time might trigger new reporting requirements. So your accounting bill is going to be even higher at the end of the year. You're going to have a lot more shit to consider. We believe this provision will create unexpected challenges for small business owners and entrepreneurs. A coalition of trade groups and businesses, including online do-it-yourself marketplace Etsy, wrote in a letter urging members of Congress to reject the proposed change. That's an understatement. This is going to be horrible. In a year in which small business owners and entrepreneurs are dealing with a myriad of challenges, like the government lockdowns, making this change will place the burden on small business owners and entrepreneurs to further complicate an already challenging tax season for small business and entrepreneurs. All right, so I'm gonna tell you guys a little secret when it comes to this. Organize your taxes as you go. Don't wait until the end of the year or the beginning of next year, rather, and then go back through a year's worth of your activity when you're organizing your taxes. If you want to avoid a major headache, just do it on the fly. So like for me, for example, every time I send a payment to an artist, I put a copy of their invoice and the payment receipt into the tax folder for that artist. So at the end of the year, I don't have to go through my entire fucking history and collect everything. It's already all there, ready to go, ready to send to the accountant. It'll save you so many headaches. So in this case, like say you sell more than $600 of stuff on eBay, create a folder for your tax paperwork, and every item that sells, put the paperwork into that folder. You could either add them up on the fly, or you can wait until the end of the year to calculate totals, or you could just leave it as it is if you pay an accountant to do that. But definitely organize yourself and stick to it. And I know this sounds like common sense, but most people don't do this. They literally just, just pay this, invoice this, whatever, move money around. And then at the end of the year, they're going through everything. They spent like days of time looking through everything they did. What was this transaction even for? Have to go look it up. Like, oh, is this something I can even write off? Just do it on the fly. It'll make tax time so much easier for you. All right, so tightening the reporting requirements is being sold as a way to crack down on tax cheating. Politico reports that House Democrats believe the change will generate about $8.4 billion over 10 years, but that's a drop in the bucket compared to the $1.9 trillion bill. Oh, yes. That's an understatement. So, guys, if you want to crack down on tax cheating, why don't you start removing all the loopholes that big corporations and billionaires use? Oh, right, you can't because those are the people who own you, huh? So you're not going to mess with them. You're instead going to squeeze more money out of the little guy, huh? Right. I'm sure you can generate more than $8.4 billion in a single year, not even over 10 years, in a single year by cracking down on one big corporation. But no. Instead, let's leave the corpos alone and keep trying to squeeze water out of this rock. Why not? There's reason to doubt that even those paltry revenue figures will become reality. Nina Olson, former head of the IRS Taxpayer Advocacy Office, told Roll Call that gig workers earning a few $100 are unlikely to pay up no matter what. Yeah, if you make that little money, you're probably living paycheck to paycheck. You're not going to be able to afford it anyway. The big difference is that now the IRS will have their personal information and can go after them. Workers who are underreporting their income now will become guilty of non-payment next year and subject to penalties and actions by the agency, Olson told Roll Call, adding that an IRS collection can destroy a person's life. Yup. That it can, it will, and it does. But on the plus side, there's one benefit, though. If a company reports the income to the IRS, that company also sends you the paperwork. It's usually a 1099 form. So, like, again, using Patreon as the example, if you've had a Patreon, you made less than $20,000, you never got any tax paperwork from them. Next year, you're gonna get tax paperwork from them. This should be obvious, but any tax paperwork you get from any company, you need to, you damn well better make sure that you account for that in your tax returns. Because that's how a lot of people get caught. Because if the company told the IRS about this and they sent you a 1099, and then you didn't include that 1099 in your tax return, that is like guaranteed audit right there. That's gonna flag you in their system. Like, hey, we got a discrepancy here. This company said that this person made X amount of money, but this person didn't report that to us. Ruh-roh. So any tax paperwork you get, you better make damn sure you pay that. I know this should be obvious, but you'd be surprised. So Americans for Tax Reform, a conservative think tank that opposes tax increases. Actually, fuck opposing tax increases. Disband the IRS completely. Just get rid of all these tax laws. Set a flat tax on, like, say, just set a national sales tax or something. A flat amount for every transaction. And boom, get rid of all the bloated bureaucracy. Make more money at the end. None of this annoying end-of-year tax return shit. But anyway, notes that the change to income reporting requirements for gig workers whose income reporting on IRS Form 1099-K bears a striking resemblance to a widely loathed tax originally included in the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare, when it was first passed in current year -11. That provision, which required businesses to report all purchases of more than $600 to the IRS via the 1099 system, created huge headaches for small businesses and was repealed in bipartisan fashion just a year after Obamacare became law. And now they want to do it again. The new reporting requirements are likely to be just as big of a mess for gig economy platforms and independent contractors who use them. Yeah, if all this seems like it has virtually nothing to do with the pandemic, then it actually has a lot in common with the rest of the American Rescue Plan Act of current year. From bailing out private pension plans to throwing money at states that don't need the aid, President Harris's bitch's first major legislative initiative is a mishmash of Democratic policy priorities and excessive spending. With a dash of actual pandemic relief on the side, only about 5% of the bill's $1.9 trillion price tag is earmarked for public health efforts. So let me tell you guys how this works in the U.S. in case you're overseas, maybe you don't know how things work here. This is a spending bill under the disguise of an aid bill. But this is how a lot of unpopular shit gets passed in America. Like, using one of my favorite examples, politicians attach unrelated stuff all the time. And they always pick the bills that no one would be willing to vote against, right? Like say there's a bill that gives more money to disabled veterans. Nobody's going to vote against that. Do you want to be the one the media smears as being against disabled veterans? It's like, no, it will be political suicides to vote against that bill. So they attach all this unrelated shit. So, oh yeah, all these pet projects that nobody would vote for because, well, it's unpopular. Let's just attach it to the more money for veterans bill. And if the other side votes against it, we can smear them in the media as being against disabled veterans. This is how things work in the U.S. This is why these spending bills get to hundreds and thousands of pages, because they keep tacking on. Every politician tacks on some of their pet projects that they know damn well could never be passed on their own. And I don't blame Biden for this either. He had nothing to do with it. It's actually the lobbyists that wrote the law, like they always do. The senators and representatives that vote on this don't read it anyway. They just sign on the dotted line. They vote yay, like they were told to by the people who own them. And that's it. Their job is done. So Congress and Biden just agreed to spend $1.9 trillion the country doesn't have. Well, they'll just print it. But you don't. But don't you dare forget to pay your taxes on a few $100 you made selling your old junk on eBay. Yeah, that's the sad thing. So actually, if you see what they're doing, a lot of countries, including the U.S., they've destroyed their own economies specifically to reduce inflation, since no one's spending money anymore, right? Everyone's saving it, maybe investing it. So assets are inflating, but they don't care about asset inflation. Yeah, things are going to get real interesting here soon. Oh man, I am so excited to tell you guys right now that finally, after about a year of build-up and shilling, we have launched Blade Devil on Indiegogo, and so far it is doing so well thanks to awesome people like you. If you haven't backed it yet, then please check the links in the description and check out Blade Devil on Indiegogo. You will not be disappointed. Looking forward to seeing you there.